Start it again, man. Go ahead, please.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Arise Conversations. We apologize for the break-in transmission. We're having a little bit of technical hitch, so please bear with us. We're back on. And today, as I was saying earlier, but if you're just tuning in, this is Heritage Television multimedia platform, and it's an online channel. This is my show, Arise Conversations, where we like to put the spotlight on people and various events who want to arise and make a difference as agents of positive change. Today, we have decided to go to our youth. A lot of times when we look at how the world is, majority or the highest number of the people on planet Earth are young people, young adults and youths. We're talking about people the ages of 40 and below. And a lot of times when the government, leaders, policymakers, lawmakers, decision makers, parents, guardians, we tend to forget that actually our youths are very important and we need to take into consideration how they feel, what they're thinking, those things that they grapple with, the challenges they have, because it is their time. This is their own time. This is when they're developing. This is when they are growing. And therefore, we need to listen to them because at times we can make decisions that don't necessarily sit well with them. And we must always remember that they are indeed, for real, the leaders of tomorrow. They are the ones that are going to take over from us. So if we do not take them into consideration and listen to them and weigh what they have to say, then it's as if we're really going into something that I would say a boom, as in a big, big bang, which is not something that is positive. So therefore, we decided on Heritage TV to bring on two young people, young adults, who would share with us, share with the viewers, share with us what it is that the youths think of this thing that has engulfed the whole world, COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. What are their views about it? How do they feel? What do they think? And therefore, we'll be speaking with two young people. My first guest is Duchess Bukolade B, who is in her early to mid 30s. She's also a young mother, so she also has another young person that she is responsible for. And she's in the entertainment business. She's an international events coordinator and events specialist. Thank you so much, Bukola, for joining us. Welcome on board.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Our next guest is Mr. Tunde Tanimola. Mr. Tunde is also a young man who's very dynamic in what he does. He's an IT professional and he's a senior business analyst. Thank you, Tunde, for joining us at very short notice. But we just really needed to have you on and hear your. Thank you so much. So please share this, let people know about it. Call your friends, especially young people. If you have young people who are your contacts, your children, your nephew, your nieces, your friends, wherever they are at the face of the planet, because we're on all the platforms. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. So we got you covered, as they say. And right now, I'm just going to swing back to the Duchess. So, Duchess, tell us a bit about yourself, your work, what you do, and also how it is for you. First of all, you're a young person, but you also are a young mother. You also have a little person who relies on you. How do you feel? What's your reaction about this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic? Over to you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Duchess. I'm an international freelance events coordinator. The coronavirus pandemic, sometimes I feel like I'm in a film. Is this real? And then I realized that there's films that have been made about this already, such as Contagion. And I think there's another film that's on Netflix that the Chinese made about it. So it's very interesting. For me, I'm trying. I mean, to be, if I'm honest, I've been watching a lot of media, whether it's mainstream media and also conspiracy theorist media, because I really need to know what's going on. And I'm so thankful, I'm so grateful that we live in a time where we have access to technology, especially with the internet of things. Now we can really find out what's going on. When you hear about all these conspiracy theories, is it true? Is it real? So I've kind of I've not gone into the rabbit hole, but I'm just looking at the top of the rabbit hole.
I'm not going to allow you to go into that rabbit hole.
But I mean, for me, it's obviously I'm just trying to, remain hopeful and not feed into the fear. I always try to be grateful and be prayerful for my friends and family, for God to definitely keep them safe, because I believe in God. Like we're not here by chance. Everything that's happening today, it's not a coincidence, and it's not by chance. I believe that it has been orchestrated. Some might even say divinely orchestrated.
Divine order.
Now the divine order, exactly, definitely divine order. There's a particular conspiracy theorist that I've been listening to for a few years now, and I stopped listening to him because I thought, I'm going too much into the rabbit hole. Let me just come back to reality. You don't want to go down this road. Let me just focus on my life, And he hasn't spoken in a few years, but he seems to be speaking again. He's got a YouTube channel. You can go and find him on YouTube, David Wilcock, and he also has several books that he's written. He's been doing this for over 25 years. He's a regular star producer on Ancient Aliens. Ancient Aliens. So he claims to have intel as to what's going on and to why we are here today, and why the whole world, why we are all here today. He claims that he has intel from people that have worked in the CIA or FBI or special agents or stuff like that, And he claims that about 10 years ago, in 2009, there was a meeting held at the home of Sir Paul Nurse, who is a British Nobel Prize biochemist. Now, this meeting was attended by leading billionaires such as philanthropist Bill Gates, David Rockefeller Jr., George Soros, Michael Bloomberg, Ted Turner, and also Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey was at this meeting, and the aim of this meeting was to discuss the agenda of population control, because apparently this was something that was disastrous, and is having a big effect on the world, that there's too many of us. And what they said is that they donated $46 billion that was pledged towards the Bill Gates Foundation for vaccine research, to the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation. So they actually look into vaccine research, right? Fortunately, Bill Gates stepped down 5 months ago, by the way. from that foundation. So he stepped down himself and his wife. Thank you very much, Bill Gates. And also, you guys can do also some more research. A lot of CEOs, a lot of major CEOs seem to be stepping down from their positions. I don't know all their names, but please go on Google, go on YouTube. You will find out the CEO of LinkedIn has stepped down. The CEO of Google has stepped down. The CEO of Disney has stepped down. It's just very interesting why all these Fortune 500 companies, a lot of these major players are stepping down from their positions for whatever reason. So what David Wilcock said is that there's a particular man called Charles Lieber. Now, he was arrested on the 28th of January, and he's a Harvard professor. He's a Harvard professor, and he's also somehow connected to the Wuhan biological research. So this arrest is on the Department of Justice website. So if you go on the Department of Justice website, which is an American website, you will find this arrest there on January the 28th. His name is Charles Lieber. Lieber spelled Lieber. Okay, so apparently this guy now also has another young man. He trained another man called Zaishong Sheng, and he entered the USA on a J1 visa and conducted cancer research at the Beth Israel Medical Center in Boston on the 4th of September 2018 to December 9th, 2019. And it's alleged that this Sheng Zhong actually stole 21 vials of biological research and attempted to smuggle this from the USA on board a flight to China, Wuhan. So this is the information that David Wilcock has brought out. So for me, it's just very worrying because we all hear music artists in entertainment talk about the Illuminati, the deep state, the carbon, whatever you want to call them. Apparently these people do exist, and David Wilcock is now giving names of the 1% of the 1% that are actually ruling the world, and who are apparently have come up with this great idea of population control. So yeah, it is very concerning and worrying, but at the same time I know that the God that I serve will not allow this to happen. So they have an agenda. I do believe David Wilcock when he says that there is an agenda. But fortunately, their agenda did not work because, according to David, this coronavirus was supposed to be much worse than intended. So their plan didn't work.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for sharing, first of all, your personal views, as a youth growing in 21st century world that we're in. But also it shows that you've also been doing a lot of research yourself and reading up and studying. But, as we all know, sometimes it's not very healthy to take on what we would call conspiracy theories. I had a guest last week who said, well, not that we should throw them away. No way, we shouldn't do that. We should take them on board, read some, study some, and then put them in what we call like a keep in view box. But most importantly, hold on to faith, because at the end of the day, that's what would really save us. Now I'm going to swing to, thank you indeed. I'm now going to swing to our dear young man, Mr. Tunde, or Ogatunde, as we've decided to call him, but his name is Tunde Tanimola. Thank you, Tunde, for joining us. I think Duchess just wanted to call you the
thank you very
boss.
Much.
So the same question to you, sir.
Don't mind that.
How do you feel? First of all, what do you do so that people will understand what you do and how what you do can relate? Because what you do is you work on the internet, you understand what technology is about, so you have a good idea. Because that's where a lot of information is disseminated at the present time. But also how you feel as a young person growing up in our world now, and what you think, what you think you can deduce from what you and your friends have been discussing concerning your reactions to the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. So over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, man. Once again, my name is and I'm an IT professional. Well, I'm basically a senior lead, and I work on different domain. Basically, I work with the financial sector. I work with the government sector. I work with insurance and logistics. Um, my view to COVID-19. Before probably you start to talk about COVID-19, I need to say and thank all the frontline staff over the pandemic period because they really know what ethics. I mean, they've actually sign up for because most of them really work tirelessly, leaving their family behind to look after all people that have been affected. Um, Contributing to what Doche said earlier, conspiracy or no conspiracy, we've had COVID-19 now. How does it affect the youth? What are the areas that I know is affect the youth, not the country we live in, the rest of the world. And when we talk about the youth here, I mean, yeah, it does affect the youth here, but when we look outside the rest of the world, I think we'll find ourselves to be a little privileged in that some of us can get the medical attention that we needed at the time when this came about. Talking about the youth, I mean, the able youth, yes, it definitely affect everyone. On the other, they are mentally challenged youth as well. And in this time that I stay home and keep some other part of the country, you know how they've been treated. The mentally challenged people don't have anywhere to live. They probably roam on the street. They're prone to catch this virus, and I, I wouldn't disagree. It's not conspiracy, and I won't agree to it because we have to. I mean, whatever we have to say, we have to be based on fact. Much as she's been reading, in that effort because I don't think I've had the time researching. Though I do some few research and do few reading, but the depth that has gone, get names and dates and this and that, I've not actually had the time to do that. But COVID-19, how is the government reacting to it? That's been planned. Yeah, from movies we've seen, from information we've had, it looks like the actual coronavirus is something that's known in about over 30 years ago. Uh, and it came about now and is really a pandemic that actually shut the whole world down. When I say shut the whole world down, if anyone has come a few months ago, that what, we need to set a day aside for everyone to stay indoor. No one will ever listen. And saying that, even when we're talking about conspiracy, we need to go back because I'm a very strong believer, even though I'm a very believer, and I follow the Bible. Even some people might say, "Oh yeah, it's just religion, is this and that. This is what your pastor are doing," but I don't really follow the pastors. I read my Bible and I understand it, and when I put those things that I read in the Bible to the life scenario which is happening right now, some of them correlate, some doesn't yet. But at the same time, we need to put our mind into the Word of God. And I'm not here to preach, but it's just my own view. And at the same time, we need to put our mind into it because a lot of things happening here and there, and some of it has been mentioned in the Bible that when so time such thing will be happening, are we prepared? Even though when we say COVID-19, is it something to do with the government? Are they planning this? Is it something related to 5G? Because there's a lot of comment. There's a lot of people's view out there. But what has happened now has affected a lot of youth, and I know some youth are, really happy, some even out of jobs. I know government has pledged, some of money for the relief fund. But how is that going to affect, or how is it going to make a good impact to the youth? Those we need to sit down and talk about and see if we can impact or we can actually make our voice heard. Government, because even they pledge that they're going to do this, they're going to do that, how soon are they going to do it? And how soon is it going to go for people that has been affected? Because there's a lot of people that without having a work, they cannot survive. To the glory of God, some of us can still survive, but what about those that cannot survive? And this, is based on from my own experience. I've been, basically, I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, at some point. And I saw a few young youth that they're mentally changed. They're just roaming about the street, nobody to care for. And now we're talking about COVID-19. What is going to be? I know they're not here in the UK, but what about the rest of the world that people don't care about? And this kind of virus is going about the human beings as well. And thank God, I mentioned that. Thank God, I know of a group who is actually looking after those in Nigeria, and they're doing it tremendously, and they're pushing it out there, and we can all support each other. We can all support each other, and 19, and it's gonna go. It, it, it's gonna be a story that we're gonna tell our grandchildren, great grandchildren at some point. That in 20, we had them. The youth mentally challenged people in Nigeria. There's this group called Carry My Cross. I'm not here to broadcast them or to advertise them, but they're doing well. And talking about here, we have some kind of, really, I know there's going to be a lot of group here in the UK, but when it comes to COVID-19, the way it affects a lot of people is going to be different. How people are going to be looked after is another thing. Even though the government will play that, let's not think or go to what actually causes it, because at this point in time, we can think to what causes the what brings about COVID-19, which is here right now. How we making a good impact into the youth and into everyone, not just the youth. I know they said youth are the leaders of tomorrow. I had that over nearly 40 years. I'm going to be 40, and I've been hearing that I've never any youth getting into leader. Same old people, our set of group of people changing hands in power. And we want to see that change. We want to see that change. I know a lot of youth out there, and there's a lot of musicians, there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of all the professional. They're out there as a young youth. They all need to have a say. And about these changes, I know it's going to be a lot of tax, but I wouldn't want to deviate too far from COVID. So I'll let the host to take over from now. If there's any question, then I can chip in. Much.
Impressed by both of you because
Thank you.
you are, even though you are young adults and we refer to you as youths, you have quite a good grasp of what life is about, at least what your life is about. You both know what you're doing, you both know what you're saying, and you are, by all means, you should be very, and justifiably too, very concerned about what's going to be the outcome, what's going to be the fallout of this pandemic as we know it. And by the way, Mr. Tunde, you said that you've been hearing the youths are the leaders of tomorrow, and you're going to be 40.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you a wake-up call. I was hearing that from
Yes.
when I was also like 16, 17, and nothing really happened that I saw, and I'm, I'm in my 60s, in my early
Conspiracy
60s now.
theories, conspiracy facts.
No, there's really nothing that we have seen to show that, because I know I was very much an activist as a young journalist. I started broadcast journalism at a very young age. I remember many times that my bosses back in NTA then, even before we became NTA, would sit me down and tell me there's some things that we call NTBB, which means not to be broadcast. So there's some things I was not allowed to say. But as a young person, I felt stifled. I was like, I want to say these things. I want to ask these questions. But it seemed the adults were always in charge. And I think I thank God for people like Fela Anikulapo Kuti. People might have their different views about him, but you know what? Fela was that person, because apart from being a musician, a very talented artist, he was also a social advocate for the rights of people. He was a freedom fighter of some sort, for the oppressed people in Nigeria and Africa. And he set up something that he called YAP, Young African Pioneers, back in the day. And I happen to be a part of Young African Pioneers. And that's where we're able to listen to a lot of ideologies. Funny enough, not what our mothers or our fathers thought, not what the government was thinking. He wasn't teaching us about smoking marijuana or going wild. No, no, no. He was actually telling us about things that we've now come to realize because they've happened. That if the government is not careful, you need to challenge the government. It doesn't mean you go and pour petrol on a building or, become reckless, but you can channel how you feel, channel your questions to the right authorities. And just like Duchess said, a lot of times we live in fear. So I think because of fear, from one generation to the next, we've all kind of kept quiet. And I'm talking about youths now. You kind of keep quiet, or sometimes you don't really ask those questions when you're meant to. And when you're sort of pushed to the wall, youths get very angry, and the only way they know how to react is to lash out. So we have riots, we have youths just totally, and of course the adults will say, oh, they're misbehaving, they're hooligans, they're not trained. Parents, come and get your children off the roads. Because the last riots that we had in the UK, that's what happened. The government was begging the parents to get their kids off the roads. But basically, it's a combination of both the parents and government, because who are
And the
government?
government.
Government are people. Government are people,
That's correct.
and most
Yeah.
times they are adults. I think it's now that we're
Yeah.
beginning to see maybe young people taking over, like maybe one of Europe's prime ministers or presidents is a 34-year-old lady. Macron of France is also young. I think the person in Canada is also young. But when we look at Africa, where we originally come from, I'm yet to see young people, in charge. Because what's happened is adults there's nothing wrong with adults. My father would always say, bless him, he would say, to find our pathway in life, we have to bring the old to meet the new, so that
Yeah.
together we can chart this path. Because the older person obviously has trodden some pathways before during their own time,
Yeah.
and they are able to, from experience, share what they went through. But the younger person is the one living now. They are the ones that know what's happening now. They are the ones that have their ears to the streets. They are the ones that belong to the largest group of beings. As I said earlier when we started the show, 40 years downwards, those are the people that are in the world today the most. So why would we not find that way forward? And then when we talk about technology, hey, as my friends in Bahamas would say, the young people are the ones in charge. The young people are the ones in charge. They are the ones that have their brains ticking very fast. They are the ones that can grapple with technology and design and inventions and innovations, because that is the world we're all living now. The older people might be more in an analog kind of life, and they might not have the wherewithal or the capacity or even the know-how to deal with technology as we know it today. And we've talked earlier about, as Duchess would say, conspiracy theories. Now now that I've talked a bit and I've brought it down to technology, I want to ask both of you, what are your views about this 5G thing? As I told you, my age is way past 40. So I try, I read up because of the work that I do. So I have to read up anyway, and I have to be at par and always, catch up with things when it comes to information and information technology. But there's sometimes that I don't really understand, so over to you, young people. What is 5G really about? A lot of people are just saying 5G, 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 5G. There's microwaves, there's this, there's that. What exactly is it? Can you break it down to layman's language? One. And two, why should we be afraid? Or why should we not be afraid? Is it a good thing for us, or is it not good for us? How would it affect our lives? How would it affect your lives? How would it affect the lives of your children? Because you are that next generation. And because it's really technology, I'm going to start again with our technical guy, and that is, of course, Mr. Tunde. And then we'll hear the Duchess's views as well. So what is 5G, Tunde? Why should we be afraid of 5G? Or maybe why shouldn't we be afraid of it? Why should we embrace it? Is it the way forward? Does it have anything to do with this pandemic? A lot of us would like to know. What do you young people think of it?
Can I Miles, can I ask can I ask coaches to lead on that, and I'll tell you I have a reason behind that, and I'll come back to you if you don't mind.
No,
I
okay.
was hoping
Okay,
you
Duchess.
would, but okay.
Duchess, over to you.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Over to you. Over
Okay,
to you,
guys,
Duchess.
we're gonna
What is
take a
five?
quick.
Let me go over the questions again, please. What
No, I remember
exactly
the
is
questions. Don't
5G?
worry. Okay.
Thank you.
So from what I know, 5G is a technology where now we're going to be able to, let's say, download a film in a split second. So even now, as you see, we've had all these technical difficulties trying to speak and getting online. With 5G, we will not have these technical difficulties,
It will be a piece
but
of
however,
cake.
it will be a piece of cake. Exactly. Yeah. But however, there's other research that has come out to find out that 5G actually has really, really bad effects on our health because of the radiation that it emits. And since this corona pandemic, I've received, and I'm sure other people have received, so many videos of recent of in England and in America, in London. I've received 2 or 3 videos today of 5G technology being set up in different areas. Some people have filmed, in fact, the Metro also released a statement today talking about they're doing 5G in the Midlands, they're doing 5G on
The
lampposts.
Metro newspaper? The
Metro
Metro?
newspaper, yeah.
Okay.
They're doing 5G on lampposts, and the people in the area are really, really upset about it because they're spending all this money on 5G on lampposts when really they should really be. What I've noticed, mainstream media is not talking about 5G and the effects on our health. That's what I've clocked. But us, we keep on sending videos around. People have videos of a 5G box or a 5G lamp somewhere, and it could be next to a tree, and those trees do not have leaves. So they're saying, okay, so if this 5G can take away all these leaves from the tree or from the shrub, imagine what it can do to us. Like maybe it can be cancerous. Also, I'm a little bit of a spiritual person. I don't want to say I'm a spiritual person because I don't really go that deep. But if you're into spirituality, those who are into spirituality, spiritualists believe that we are now entering the age of Aquarius. We're moving from the age of Pisces, if you're into cosmetology, I can never say that word.
Could you explain that to people who might not have an idea what that means, please? Age of
So if you're
Aquarius.
into star signs and stuff like that, so basically the age of Pisces is what we've been in for the last 5,000 years. Okay, so this age of Pisces, we have all been through a lot of hurt, there's been a lot of violence around the world, there's been a lot of hate, there's been a lot of suffering, people have been in poverty, even in your personal life, regardless of what you've been through, and all this is supposed to be, if you're into spirituality, this is supposed to be our karma. So we're supposed to learn and evolve as souls. If you believe that your soul is everlasting after this physical 3D dimension, you understand, like what our souls are supposed to learn from this. We're now moving into the age of Aquarius. Now, the age of Aquarius, we're now going to be moving into something which they call is the 5D, the fifth dimension, 5D, 5D. So I've been thinking 5D, 5G, 5D, 5G, 5D, 5G.
So we're
Is
saying D
there
for Delta and G for Golf.
G for golf? Exactly. So, last
So
night I was just
which one did I just ask you about? That was 5G.
you're asking me about 5G, but I'm just trying to give you some
Yes.
information here, right?
Okay.
So from what I found out, right, so we know now that they're saying that this 5G technology, because of the radiation, it has severe impacts on our health, okay? So if you're a spiritualist, spiritualists believe by the end of 2020, we'll be moving into the age of 5D, which means that we're moving into higher consciousness, right? We're developing into higher consciousness. So I now Googled, is there a link between 5D and 5G? So I came across a website called openhandweb.org, okay? So this website is empowering people to connect with their cosmic divine beings, to come into flow and the natural alignment of the universe. I said, okay, what does that mean? So they claim that for thousands of years, our planet and humanity have been in the grip of a controlling alien intervention bent on creating synthetic reality for their own enriched agenda and for their vibration. Okay, so whether you're a spiritualist, if you believe in Jesus, Muhammad, if you're Muslim, whatever it is, okay, we know that they teach us about the devil, yes, and that his reign, according to spiritualists, that the devil's reign has been on earth, and this is why we've been going through so much suffering and violence and pain in the world. Okay, so these people want this to continue, right? If you believe, I'm sorry, I have to go back to conspiracy theories, to the Illuminati, the deep state, whatever you want to believe them to be, whatever you want to call them, right? If these people basically now they're saying that they're creating this 5G as a synthetic grid so that we cannot connect to the 5D and elevate to higher consciousness. That is deep. I don't know if anybody would understand that.
I'm
So
trying to
what
wrap
they're
my
basically
head
saying
around
is,
it.
so 5G technology, right? They're saying if you're into spirituality, is going to block us from getting through to the fifth dimension, because the world has actually had a pole shift. So you guys need to go and research this yourself. Over the last few years, the Earth, Gaia, right? Gaia is the Earth, has had a pole shift, right? And we're all elevating into the next dimension of consciousness. So right now we're on a 3D world, third dimension, right? But the more we meditate and the more we pray and the more we're thankful and grateful, and the more we connect with the source, our God, our creator, the more that we can ascend and alleviate ourselves to a higher state of consciousness, right? But then you have these other people, these other beings, these other aliens, these other devil worshippers, satanic devil worshippers that want us to vibrate on a low scale. They want us to be in suffering. They want there to be hurt and violence and anger and misery in the world, because that's how they feed their energy. That's how they win, right? So apparently this 5G technology will block our senses from elevating to the next fifth dimension. So that's my take on it. Go and do your research. I've put it out there. Openhandweb.org. Do your own research. 5G, 5D. That's how I've transcended it for myself. Nobody has to agree with me. You don't have to agree, but I definitely believe this. Like, it's true, guys. It's true. It's getting real. Shit is getting real.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Duchess, for sharing that with
Yep,
us.
scratch your head.
I'm going to swing to Tunde now, but quickly, if people are just tuning in, it's Heritage Television Multimedia online channel, and this is Rise Conversations, and I'm Your Royal Highness Princess Maradio, the producer and host of the show. Today, we are trying to find out how our young people, how the youths, how they feel and what are their reactions to the COVID-19 and coronavirus pandemic that has hit the world. It's like it's given us slaps left, right, and center. This thing does not know male or female, old or young, does not know class, whether you're rich or poor, does not know race, doesn't care the color of your skin. It's just like an onslaught. And therefore, when we hear what the young people have to say, maybe it is time that really and truly we that are older, or the leaders, the adults, the people in authority, maybe it's a time to take a back step a little bit and ponder on what the youths are trying to share with us. Maybe it's time to listen more. I have a friend who has an organization called Listening Ears, and they believe that because people talk more than they listen, a lot of information, gets just swept over our heads. So maybe leaders need to listen more to what the younger generation are saying. And we've heard from Buki. I'm not going to go on to Tunde, but if you're watching with us, if there are any questions that you have or any contributions that you'd like to make, I'll be very happy if you just put it on our post, and then we'll be able to read it out. Our gentleman who is in charge of our technical side will do the honors and help us read out what things that are really burning out there. And from you that are watching, you want to ask the questions, either myself or the two guests that we have, or you have something valid to contribute. So over to you now, Mr. Tunde. Now it's your turn to share with us your views about all those questions I asked. 5G, and Buki has now said 5D. I never heard that. And what as a technical person yourself, what sayest thou? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, man. Well, 5G, basically, according to what Buki has said earlier, and I know she's been doing a lot of research on 5G, 5D, and all. And as a technical person, as an IT professional, 5G is a sort of an enhancement, basically, which the way I say it, I'm not going to put it down that it is a bad thing or it has anything to do with COVID. And at the same time, if you
Okay.
look at it this way, everything has an advantage and a disadvantage.
And disadvantage. Even flying, getting on the flight,
Exactly. There's a risk involved.
drinking too much
But
water.
exactly. I think in life, moderation, is what we just need to put in place. If we have moderation in everything we do, then everyone will be at peace. And
Hold that
with this
thought.
5G,
Hold that thought, sir, because I don't want us to you used a very,
when
very interesting word now. You said
I said
moderation.
moderation,
Moderation.
yes,
Would you say
yes,
then, just hold the thought there, would you say that you growing up to now that you're nearly 40, and what you've seen
yes,
from maybe you started getting conscious about who you are from about age 16 or so. You started getting conscious of who you really are. And then, you
that's
go
true.
through your formative years till you become a young adult. observing life, your parents, your grandparents, all the older generation that you know, including leaders, decision makers, would you say they have that word in their dictionary? Moderation? On all levels. And I want you to be
No,
brutally truthful, because we need to hear, we need to know.
um, no, I've not actually. I think the few people that have actually seen that moderation been put in their day-to-day life style are few that I've actually seen in my life. And
There
no,
are
I
few.
haven't seen that with the government. Yeah, I haven't seen that with the government, and not with the leaders. I mean, if you speak here in the UK, when they talk about moderation, is moderation to one and another set of moderation to the other. It's not. It's still
So two
not balanced.
sets of two
And
sets of
everyone feels
rules. Two sets of
exactly.
rules.
And everyone, and this is what kills. This is what kills everyone. Like earlier, growing up, you pick up knowledge from either grand or great grand. My dad used to be a soldier, and he used to tell me moderation in anything is the key to life. Even if it's a cup of water, you can drink it. If you go and get a big jar, that is going to cost you it's going to give you a problem,
You might
and that is
drown.
water. You might get drowned. If you're smoking, you can smoke one in the day. If you want, and a plate is enough for you, and you get 5 plates, then you're causing problem for yourself. So that's the issue.
So
Going back into
moderation.
5G.
Yes, moderation is.
Yeah,
I just wanted us to not lose that, because that was very key.
that,
Because even as I
yeah.
said, growing up, I did not see that in our
No,
leaders. I did
I
not
didn't see
see
it.
that.
I didn't see it.
Moderation is
No,
something that we need to really take on board.
that's
As
correct.
part of what we try to do. But go back again to the 5G technology and how
Yeah.
that,
So
how you
yeah,
react to that.
my point with the 5G, I know there's a lot of talk going out there. Some company agree to it, some company disagree with the 5G technology and whatsoever. There's an advantage. There's going to be advantages to the 5G technology, and I know going to be the disadvantages to that. I know it is some sort of high radioactive wavelength which can affect human beings, which I know that for sure. And I can give you like a little example. The sort of wavelength you get from 5G technology is less than what you probably get from an X-ray. And when you go to the
Okay.
when you go to the office to do your X, they probably tell you that you can't do your X-ray more than so time because they want to explore that radioactive element. And the
Okay.
sort of element that you're gonna believe is gonna be than that in thousands. But having said that, there should be some protective measures that they would have in place. Because they're not gonna bring out any technology that they just install there and it's gonna start killing every people on the streets. That is gonna even cost more than we have right now. I'm
Hmm.
not ruling now it doesn't affect, but at the same time, when I then put my knowledge back into the Word of God,
Okay. Very important.
wait, yeah, wait, when we get in kind of time, we are gonna come as one. So we're having a technology that's going everyone.
Hmm.
You might think it's conspiracy thing, okay, but
No, because we need,
yeah,
as I
but
said,
imagine
today's show is about listening to the younger generation,
yeah,
because the way you see
and
things, the way you
yeah,
react to things, the way you feel things is totally different from the way maybe adults, especially these leaders and people in positions of authority who do not listen and who do not have moderation in their dictionary. People need to hear.
that yeah. So as I was saying, so all these things they implementing is to bring everyone, to unite everyone together. And when that unity come into place, something will happen. So right by now, we're talking about COVID-19, talking about the 5G, reacting to it. What are we telling you? Does our youth way of God? Do they even believe there is God? Or is it just they believe? Last chapter of Bible, Revelation 22, verse 12. I'm sorry, I'm not here to preach.
No, please
He
go ahead.
said,
Feel free. Feel free. You know,
maybe
where
I
the
can use
whole
it.
world is now, we're trying to look
Yeah,
for solutions. We're trying to look for a way
I'll just
forward.
read from it.
So whatever it is that is going to be helpful, we will need to table it out and discuss it out there.
Yeah, I'll read
So
from it.
please
He
go
said,
ahead and share
and behold, I come quickly. His word
quickly
is with me to give every man according to his will.
to his will.
Are you saying this in that if we all turn out, if we all turn out to Christ or to God or to whatever God we believe in, and we believe in God, not just whatever, like these things. People might say it's conspiracy theory. I believe this is the beginning of the end time. I might be. People might look at me. He's an IT professional. He's this, is that. But what is he talking about the end time? Even because my profession made me to be that. I'm not my reason for being here, because I didn't just come here by just from the sky. So I understand. Nobody can tell me, oh, that okay, yeah, it's because my mother had my pregnancy and gave back to the reason why I'm here. No, that's not just the reason why I'm here. Before my mother, before my great grandparent, or whoever, there's someone there, and whoever that person is greater than everyone. But because
Absolutely.
people don't in that direction, they tend to like turn to science. Everything that is not good. There's a benefit, but how we're doing that, we're losing our time. People then tend to believe in, oh yeah, in science. I mean, I just draw us back to this COVID-19 pandemic. Got to all the
Yes.
nurses, all the doctors, they are to God because they exhausted all their power. They cannot even do it no more. They have to turn back to God. And if we cannot do this, the world is going to be a better place for us. 5G there will be a measure to protect everyone to use that 5G. And technology is going in a way that we need to be aware. It's a good thing. I'm not saying I'm not out that thing is a good thing because we're benefiting from it right now. Because back in the days, I was talking to one of my friends that children we know what the cassette player is or compact disc, because everything now is just online. Everything is
Everything.
just on like is at the same time is going where to be where shows that what if what's that are we this are we prepared in every way. We have to be prepared, either because whatever 5G, my belief, if they talk and the side effect for that would means killing people. With my belief, I don't think he's gonna kill you, never kill me, except if God said, yeah, it's the time, then you go. We all have different beliefs. The youth nowadays believe in how are they living their life, and if the leaders of tomorrow, what sort of life, what sort of upbringing, what sort of no, I know there are a lot of youths out there that they have they have the will and the to go places, but there are still some out there that they still like enlighten more on what is going on. Because with this 2005, I don't think they relate in any way. I know there's a lot of that actually comment I've seen online, but I still believe is someone switching off. I found a post on Facebook. Let me just comment on this. I found a post on Facebook. The gentleman was saying, "Oh, the speaker on a lot on M20," and I'm thinking, it's a 5G that they switch on that's making this happening. Oh, that they want everybody to stay home. They don't want people dying on the street. But everybody has different
analysis.
takes on everything, analysis everything. But because people have different opinion or different comment or analysis at the time, we should not be taking it as. I mean, when I work on any project to deliver, I know that project have benefit. I know it will have some
benefit
little
for mankind.
We can actually say, you know what, that's can be exactly, and that's the way I see things. But coming back to the 5G, I won't say if it's going to have a massive effect on people's life, then we then have to worry about. I wouldn't dig into to research about be killing. I know it's already active wavelength, which I know about that. I've seen that it's for good cause. Inventing it. I know they invented for a good cause. Don't even my hidden agenda. I'm not ruling that. That everyone say watching me is whoever that is not watching, because the only eyes that watches me, the eye that never sleep. And
I like that.
so
I like that.
Back to you, man.
I like that. Thank you so much indeed. At least you've been able to break it down a little bit for us when it comes to areas of technology. Okay. In my own little experience as a broadcast journalist, and I'm an avid reader. I read a lot. I try to do my own research as well, and also as a child of God and believer of God, and the mighty Creator. What I would say is one thing we also need to take on board is God, or different tribes and different races have the name they call him, and I'm talking about the one, omnipotent God, omniscient, omnipresent. He has two eyes. One is an eye of science, the other is spirit. They are both together. They are both. He's in charge of everything. There's nothing that man can do or that man tries to do that man can really claim that it belongs to man as such. According to the scriptures, I remember there's somewhere in the scriptures where Jesus was speaking and he said, "Greater things than I will you do." When he was speaking, there were no aeroplanes, there were no ocean liners, there was no laptop, there were no iPads, all the things that, and when we even talk about technology, the wheel is just about 100 years old. The wheel, everything started from the wheel. So look at how much man has been able to achieve in 100 years. And therefore, it lets us understand that whether we like it or not, technology will come, because that is what enables us to evolve. and enables us to move forward and enables us to make life easier and more manageable for us as human beings. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm a Christian, but then to now say you jettison everything that has to do with science. That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
That doesn't make any sense, because God is science. God has good in his right hand, evil in his left. He said, I emit both. So if we're talking about the kingdom of darkness, we're talking about the Illuminati, we're talking about, the evil one, the devil. Who made these beings? Is it not the same creator? Can the creation know more than its creator? It's like the man who invented or who designed the Mercedes-Benz car. The Mercedes-Benz car is out there, parked in his garage. He's not going to go in the morning to now bow to the Mercedes-Benz that he himself created. So therefore, God Almighty, who created us, he's not going to bow to us. The only difference, I believe, between God and man is he says, my thoughts are so far from you. In other words, the way we think and the way the mighty God thinks at totally different levels. He does things twinkle of an eye. That twinkle of an eye could be 1,000 years in our real time, in human time. So we have to take both, and even life itself is of yin and yang, positive and negative. That's why he made male and female. He didn't need to do that, but he did it because God knew in his infinite wisdom that is the way forward.
That's why we have day
it's
and
not
night.
going to be. That's why everything has the mirror, has the opposite. Everything, good and evil, strong and weak. The list can go on. And therefore, my plea, because I love young people, I love the youths, maybe because of those things that we lacked when we were younger, and we're thinking, okay, maybe the generation before us didn't know better. We now know better, and we want to be able to enable your generation to do good better. Because I always say hashtag those who can must. If you can do something that's going to add value, that's going to bring about a better quality of life for all, then you must do it. You must do it. Whichever way you look at it, you must do it. Because at the end of the day, when the younger generation now moves, our generation will move on, will retire. Retirement will probably be called home, at various times and various ages. But your generation are going to now move into those seats of power, those positions of authority, those people that make laws, those people that draw up the policies that will guide life as we know it. How will your generation handle it if you're not prepared from now? We have said, and we've all agreed, this is probably one of the signs of the end time. Yes, it doesn't mean the end time is going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah,
we all have to prepare.
Yes,
it does mean we have to prepare. We have to prepare. We can't just we have to prepare, and that's why I find it very engaging for me when I hear the views of young people, because you are the ones out there. I'll continue to say, you're the ones that have your ears to the ground. It is your world. The time it was our world is really over. If we want to be truthful, it's really over. When I say over, not as in over in totality, but there's some things that you need to hand over to that next generation that are better equipped to run it and manage it. Our job is probably to watch over, advise, every now and then, and put guidelines, and when we do need to inject some kind of strength and encouragement. Now, talking about that, now I want to now go to take your mind to Africa, and specifically Nigeria, because that's where we're all originally from. I don't know whether you are up to date with your the news updates in Nigeria, what's happening, what's going on. Do you have friends in Nigeria? Do you have relatives in Nigeria who are your age mates, your young people, 40 downwards? What are their views? Because Africa and Nigeria is a different template from Europe. Just like Europe is a different template from the US, different template from China, different template from India. Somebody was saying maybe people should look at India. India is a totally different template from Africa. And Nigeria is very unique. It's a very, very unique place. Nigeria seems to be that place that God has put all the blessings, everything you can think of, we have, from weather, to the ability to think outside the box, especially the youth. I give it to you guys, youths in Nigeria, youths of Nigerian of descent, you are on point when you want to be. You are on point. You if you are serious about a particular career, you pursue it and you excel.
Yeah.
That's one thing I have noticed. But also sometimes, why is it that youths from that part of the world behave as if they are clueless? Because we know that they're not clueless. Is it the environment? Is it the pressures from living in that environment? And I'm going to go to the Duchess now, because I know you have friends, you have cousins who are in Nigeria, and there was a time you went to Nigeria to live because you had your youth service there. So you must have taken on board a few things. Everything was not what you expected. So over to you, ma'am.
Really, everything that you mentioned, the environment, I just think people are a bit ignorant also. Like now, as I said, we have access to information. Even if you're in Nigeria, you can go on the phone, you have access to the internet, computers, you can go and find out things and you can ask questions. But I don't know, I do think that people, our generation, are asking questions. It's a bit of both. I think that society, and I'm still gonna go back to this 1% of the 1%, because they've filled up a whole lot of nonsense in people's heads, because now we're not really living the way that we're supposed to be living. And then obviously people that do live in Nigeria, they see how we live in the West, and thank God now they see how we live, because they're now questioning the government, they're now questioning the authorities, because they're looking at their counterparts around the world and they're thinking, but how come they have this and we haven't got that, and what's happening? So some people definitely are questioning the system and they're fighting back. I know there's a young lady in Nigeria, you put me onto her, I can't remember what her name is. Is it Toyo Tosin or Tola?
Okay, Toyosi, who was
Toyosi.
a vibrant leader. She's suddenly gone quiet. Have you noticed?
She's still doing some work. She is doing
No,
something,
she's not
but
as dynamic as she was.
okay.
You remember she was
Yeah.
very vocal. She was very out there. We always looked forward to her posts, and to her comments. A lot of young people followed her. In fact, Michelle Obama was very, very impressed by this young woman that she requested to meet her. You understand? Because of it showed
Yeah.
the impact of what she was doing, and she was carrying the young generation with her. I heard, maybe a conspiracy theory again, but I kind of heard that maybe the powers that be were afraid of her, that she might just come in and take over, and younger people will just vote for her to become the
Yeah.
president or like that. What do you think?
Maybe, I don't know, but I know that even in regards to music, because obviously we know music, art, culture is very powerful. You mentioned Fela, so we have a lot of you have Burna Boy, obviously he does a lot of circular music, but he also has some conscious music, which is there. Even Tiwa Savage, I think she's just done a conscious song. So some of the artists are releasing some conscious music, which is a good sign. you know, that the youth there are aware. Definitely they're aware of what's happening and they do want to change, but I think they just need some direction. They just need that, you know, because I guess people are scared at the end of the day. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to live. You know, it's just, yeah, it's a catch-22. It's a catch-22. You know,
Well,
you
thank you
want to
so much,
fight the powers
Duchess.
that be. You have all these questions, but at the same time, you still want to do hot girl summer, live life, drive fancy car, do these things. So
Well,
it's
you know,
kind
as
of
they
like a
say,
catch-22. So we're a
we
bit
cannot eat
confused now.
our cake and have it, my dear.
Yeah.
There's some posts that I would love to read out, and I'd also want your reaction. This one would probably be for Mr. Tunde. This is Rashida Duam. Okay, Rashida. She says 5G RF power is too much, just too much. Even when we had 2G, my professor in University of Kent, who taught us about 2G, 3G, 5G, etc., wouldn't let you put a phone next to him. She goes, so, and that was at that time. We only had 2G, but now we have 5G in the offing. So can you all imagine the strength or the power of the radio frequency traveling across the airwaves? I'm trying to read all the things that she wrote. Across the airwaves, she says, that's my 2 cents on 5G. I know that Mr. Tunde, you said that because of obviously the work that you do and the knowledge that you have about technology, you didn't really think 5G was something to be too scared about. You also told us that whatever happens in technology, they would have measures in place to protect mankind. Because if this 5G is allowed to go haywire and it kills everyone, so who would they be governing? Who would they be leading? The whole
that is
world will
my
be
point.
gone. But from what Rashida, I think Rashida, she was watching from the US, and she was also and she came to university here in the UK, so she's straddling both continents. From what I read out, what her comment was, how would you react to that?
Well, thank you. He is right according to the 2G and he mentioned. But introducing 5G, like you said earlier, during your speech, you said even though we know it's the beginning of it, we still need to believe in science, and we're not going to stay because every day we sleep, we wake up, there is an improvement. Our age is not going back; it's going forward. And the going for a new thing, there's going to be new invention that will come up. Some is going to be bad and some is going to be good. The one that's going to be bad is going to have its own advantage. And if it does have its own advantage, there's going to be a measure that needs to be put in place. And why they have regulations against all of these things. And if they don't then put those in consideration before they then roll, we then know it's going to be, I'm not going to say mass kill. I mean, if they're going to invent or like 5G that future then can kill the whole borough, who is going to be left for that borough to be governing? There won't be.
There won't be
But
anybody.
yeah, but all these things, like I said earlier, I know there are facts in something, but we cannot base all our facts on people's opinion.
Okay,
I
I
mean,
get you.
if we can get any government body in charge of all this tech on call now, we can hear it clearly because they will understand, what damage it can cause, and they have to put in measures. If those
Okay,
measures are not in place, I mean, look, let me just give one example. The UK we live
okay,
in now, we have
yes,
wherever we are now, we have electricity,
yes,
and the electricity we think we have, we only think, oh yeah, maybe they're generating that electricity is just the generation. No, generation is just one thing.
Distribution
Distribution
is
is
another
another
thing.
thing. Do you know the next thing, Ma?
Yes.
Protection is another thing.
What's the third one?
If you don't protect that, protection,
It might
security.
go, yes.
If you don't protect that, if you don't get all the security in place, if you get
In
into wrong
place.
hands, it's only 1 second to switch the whole country down. And imagine if the electricity
Or to electrocute the whole country.
no, I'm not even to electrocute. Just imagine someone get
Shut down. Switch.
the control
At the grid.
to the security and switch it down for 1 minute. Imagine how many people is going to die. Then we're now talking of 5G tech that we're going to be benefiting, and they're going to switch it on, and people are going to start dying on the street. I'm not ruling it out that it's not going to have a bad effect, but the measures are going to be put in place to guide against those things. I know people might have seen it. Maybe they've actually experienced the 5G radioactive at a very close range. Of course, if you do, it will have a very side effect. I'm not doubting. I'm not.
That's probably why we're seeing those trees, like the side of the trees that are facing the lamps where the 3G has been, 5G has been installed.
Yeah.
The barks are dying off and the leaves are dying off because of that.
Exactly.
The proximity of the gadget and the tree. Okay.
So
now another thing,
I believe that will answer Rashida's question. I'm not disputing what she said, but with this techie we've been talking about, before it comes out, we all need to read through all the measures and all the benefit and what disadvantage that can surround it. Then we go back and sit down. Is it really beneficial for us having the 5G?
Can I just add to that?
I mean,
Can you
what
guys
we have right now, there might be a lot of sorry to interrupt.
I think Buki wants to add something
I
to
want to
that,
add
Duchess.
just something, just a very short point. Like I kind of understand what you're saying, Tunde, because I also thought that too. That why would they release something with if it's going to be such a bad for our health? But the only thing that kind of intrigued me was the fact that there's videos. Thank God for technology. People are actually filming workmen, engineers on the street today, setting up 5G wires, 5G lamps, 5G posts in London while we're supposed to be on lockdown. Why would they send these men out there when we're on such high alert because of the coronavirus and we're supposed to be keeping 2-meter distance? But you have men that are working closely together, setting up this 5G thing when we're on lockdown. That doesn't make sense. Why is this 5G so important to set up in this time? Is it the health of our society, our welfare, the public, you understand, more important than sending people out there to set up 5G technology on roadsides? That's what I just don't get. Why is that so important?
I think from the technical point, I think Tunde, you over to you. You need to respond to that, please.
Right. I'll tell you one thing, Duchess. I know you're asking. This time that we've been, we had a lockdown, been asked to stay at home. Why are they still out there installing the 5G and stuff?
Yes.
But don't forget, we have frontline staff working right now.
Can we hear Tunde, what Tunde has to say, Duchess? Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Right about now, we do have frontline staff working tirelessly even while we're on a lockdown. They're not on a lockdown. We have the underground drivers, we have the London bus drivers, we have the soldiers, we have the police officers, we have we have the doctors, we have the cleaners in the hospital. They are frontliner, they are working. And this engineer installing the 5G network, this could
Would
be
you consider them key workers?
Say that again?
would you consider them key workers? Because you just mentioned all the key workers, the frontline workers that are needed,
I will.
such as the bus
I can
drivers, the nurses, the doctors, the police. Why are these engineers? Are they key workers? Like, you know,
He's
like if I
trying
was
to
an engineer,
explain. He's
yeah,
trying
I
to
can consider
explain
them.
why.
I can consider the workers because the 5G network, by the time you roll out, is going to be beneficial to everyone. It's just like the health service. You're going to benefit from it. I'm going to benefit from it. They're going to benefit from it. And this is the time. And I believe for them to be out now doing what they're doing, if they are doing why there's no lockdown, there might be some obstruction they're doing.
Obstruction.
I don't know. I'm not sure, you know, how that is right or not. But for them to be out there doing it right now, I think they have every reason. If they are safe, you know, to be out there to do it, I don't see any reason for them not being out there and do it. As long as they keep their social distancing, getting in contact with anyone and carrying on with their job and go. But
I
that
totally.
having to do with COVID-19, I still
Mhm.
don't want to.
You
I still
don't,
don't want to.
as a scientist and as a technical person, you don't want to
Yeah.
bring the two together. But
No.
there's a few more comments that I
Okay.
saw, and I felt, okay, we need to really we need to really read this out.
Okay.
There's a Mr. Ernest Amabude. There's also one that I saw. I think it was a pastor. I'm just scrolling up now quickly so that I can read, because that was a rather long one, but he was making a point that I felt we need to hear. Okay, this is Prophet Isaiah McKay. He says, we need to study the times in order to understand its seasons. So he's also bringing it to a kind of a spiritual link with the physical, because
Yeah.
he's also he's into technology himself. He's a cinematographer,
Yeah.
so he uses gadgets, etc. But he's also a minister of the gospel. He says we also need to pay attention to both history and present day politics, as undertones are expressed in certain discourse amongst those who are in the arenas of power, of legislation, and government. It's coincidental and yet not alarming that Bill Gates spoke about biological warfare, not a TEDx talk, and yet not many paid attention to it. The very same year, film Terriers was made. To scroll down. My apologies. I don't want to miss any, because I'm reading this verbatim. I don't want to put my own words at all. It was made. Okay. Was a film called My Secret Terriers was made and released in Asia with the word coronavirus. Are these coincidences or eventualities? I think I probably know what today's take is going to be, and I think I know what Duchess's take is going to be. But over to you, Duchess. I want your reaction
Can you
to
hear me?
to what Prophet
Hold on a
Isaiah
second.
McKay had to say there. Then I'll also read another one. So over to you, Duchess. Are you with us, Duchess? Hello? Oh,
I
we've
think we
lost
lost
Duchess.
our.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe I'll have your hardcore response then. Because it's still talking about your. It's talking about both things,
according to
the two things that you are passionate about. You're passionate about your career, in technology. You're also passionate about, God and being a believer. So
yeah, according to that pastor, yeah, we need to cover the time, the
like
history,
the
and the
sons of Issachar.
yeah. So we need to consider that. And talking about coronavirus, I coronavirus is some sort of biological weapon. It's not just
That's
virus that just come. That is my belief. Coronavirus
it's
is not
more.
of
Oh,
that
you're
just
saying it's more than the actual virus.
is more than people
It's
the
bigger.
than just now. Yeah, it is bigger. It's not just it's not a new virus that we just know about 3 months about.
But they say
Virus has been
the medical people and the scientists have said, I've interviewed one or two of them, and they've said it's a new
yeah.
strain. It's a new strain, even though it's not a completely new
There has been
virus. It's a new strain of an existing virus, like a new species
well
of something.
if okay then we then go back. So if it's a new species of an existing virus,
Yes.
how does the virus start?
How come?
The existing virus, if it's a new species of an existing, how does that existing virus, which has been for decades, how does it come about?
I
Who
told you how it
originated
came
that?
about. I gave you the
No,
names. Do I need to go
not the
back?
COVID, Duchess, not COVID-19. We're talking about this COVID. This one is 19
Coronavirus.
because it was locked down and given a name in 2019. That's why it's COVID-19.
Yeah.
There have been various there's been SARS, there've been MERS, there've been various viruses
And there's
over
also
the
various
decades.
strains. There's also different strains of
This
coronavirus.
one is the
So this is the
that's
strongest
why
one.
I was okay, you
Yeah.
were offline, so you didn't hear what we said. This is a different
Yeah,
strain, is another
yeah,
strain or species, for want of
Yeah.
a better word. So
yeah.
your
So
take,
do you
your
wanna
take
do you
today.
wanna go?
I
I
mean, I'm
think
pretty
this was
happy with
really
what the
for
pastor said, you know. I don't believe it's the end times. I believe that the beginning is only the end. And I believe that God is going to use certain people to expose the truth as to what's really going on. And I'm just going to read a quote by President J.F. Kennedy. And he said this 7 days before he was assassinated. He said that there
what
is
year
a
was
plot.
what year did he say this?
This was, well, the year that he was assassinated. So
What year
find
was
the
it?
year he
Because
was
people
assassinated.
need to know.
It was 7. I will find that out for you and get back to you. Don't worry. It
Thank
was,
you.
yeah. And he said that there is a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I
Child.
leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose this plot. And 7 days after, he was assassinated. So
Well,
when people like what's his name? Um who's this guy called who what's his name? Kanye
was it
West.
linked?
When Kanye West
Okay,
came
the
out that we're
artist.
slaves, and everybody was like, "Wow, what do you mean we're slaves? We're slaves." I believe that we are all slaves. We're in this system that these group of people who are being controlled by aliens, and I'm putting it out there, yes. And these aliens are demonic forces. That's what they feed into: negative energy, hate, unlawfulness, pedophilia, anything disgusting and horrible that you can think of. That is how they get their energy. That is how they feed. Do you
Uh,
understand? But us that believe
okay.
in God, whether you're Christian,
I think
Muslim,
Tunde wants to react to what you just said. Yes,
yeah,
Tunde.
So in that case, then we need to be giving the right morals to our youths, because
Why do you think I
this
had you guys here? I need
yeah,
you guys to tell us
we need
where
to
to
give
go,
the
what to
right
do.
morals to our youth. We need That's the message we should be now. The sort of society we live in is a control system society. And this is why either you like it or you don't like it. If 5G is going to kill, if 5G is going to unite people to get the control of people, nobody is going to stop it. As you've
Gotta
said,
stop
the
it.
system is controlled. It's not the system of this world is not controlled by men of God or is controlled by a demon. Most people, they worship the god of Mammon, and god of
Money,
Mammon is,
power,
yeah, Mammon, money. So,
Yes,
money
I
and
and
agree.
that
power.
that is controlled by the devil, and this is where they
Yes.
get. I'm not, So I agree to what you're saying,
So
but
you agree then?
at the same
Fantastic.
time, no, I agree to
On
it, but at the same time, how do we impact the youth? If we just say this and you're not telling the youth what they need to do, how are they going to do the
what they
right
should
morals?
do.
There's still a youth out there, they'll be thinking, I want to get involved into this, I want to in that, and thinking is the right thing to do. Because a lot of people doing something wrong doesn't make it right. And people are doing something, few people are doing something right, and all that doesn't look it makes it wrong. No, we need to let them see that this is the right way of life. Come on, go back to your Bible, go back to your parents,
Your
let them tell
Quran,
you the right way.
your Torah,
You
your Ifa scripts, your Shinto,
exactly.
whatever, as you said,
These
whatever
are
it is that
the
you
right
believe
thing.
in.
And I believe all these things we are saying is as a result. It's as a result of it's as a result of our sins.
Of course,
I believe.
100%.
I
I
mean, it's
agree.
the result, but we're not going to get that result by falling. It was during in the whole days that God will just send fire or something will come down. But now it's gonna channel someone to do it, and we're going to be looking at that person as a bad person. But God is actually punishing people for their sins. I'm so sorry. I know a lot of people have this COVID-19. A lot of people are, I've had a lot of people, I've seen, I just stopped looking at figures, but it's not something that I'm happy about. I'm not really. The other day, I took my friend to the hospital and I was there and I saw people taking their family members. I was, I felt really sad that, this is happening in this time and age. But at the same time, I was on the call, with my sister and I was telling myself, I said, you know what? I know this thing is out there, but I don't believe it's going to come near me because I have so many assurance in the Bible. It will never come near me. See, I can hear it, but it won't come near me. Even if it's coming towards me, when you see the blood on my doorpost, it will pass over. But
Fire,
how many
fire,
people?
blood of Jesus. Fire, fire, fire,
How many
fire.
people?
Uh, uh, uh,
How many people? How many people have
Duchess
this
has
sort of
gone into
belief?
spirit mode.
How many people have sort of this belief? A lot of people don't believe. They're like, no, that ain't coming to me. And before you know it, you see, and then they will be restless, they will be powerless. At that point, they will not even have the initiative to call on God, the omniscience, the omnipotent, the Alpha and Omega that can actually save
Now,
them. So that is my take on it.
thank you. Now I'm gonna play devil's advocate now because I'm gonna throw a clanger in the wheel. The three of us are Christians, okay?
That's correct.
But we have all kinds of viewers around the world whereby they are following the faith that they were born into. So there are people from Asia, from the Middle East. They were born into Islam. That's what they were born into. You understand?
That's
There are
correct.
people in other places they were born into Judaism. Japan, they were born into Shinto. You understand? There are some places in Africa as well were born into our traditional worship. There are places here
Yeah,
in the UK that were born into traditional worship. I know them.
exactly.
You understand? So
Mm.
if we are going to put it in a way that youths, globally will be able to embrace our message, my humble opinion is that it's a time for us all to become more spiritual rather than religious.
Religious.
Religion hasn't
Yes.
done the world any good. All religion has done is to brainwash and to control. It hasn't done us any good. God did not
That
create
that
a
that's
religion.
another topic
In
for another day,
fact,
man.
Jesus was not a Christian. He was a Jew. It's the people that decided to follow him that are called Christians, meaning Christ-like. But how many of us Christians are really Christ-like? How
That's
many?
correct.
We got about 2 or 3 video clips from Nigeria, from I think Uganda, I think maybe South Africa as well, whereby, and I think somewhere in Asia, whereby there's been the leadership, which is the government, and they put out this law. People should stay indoors. There should be social distancing, right? People should observe, the gap. Even when you do go out, there has to be, I think, 6 feet or something like that apart. These religious leaders, I'm not going to call them spiritual, because if they're spiritual, they will know what the Spirit of God is saying.
No, religious.
It's the same Spirit of God that says,
Religious
listen to
business.
your leaders. And they encourage their members to come to church. And the prayers were like, because we are children of God, because we're Christians, because we're Muslims, we belong to Allah, nothing can happen to us. Coronavirus can never come near us. What would you call that? Is that sheer stupidity? Or what do you think? Because don't forget that a lot of young people are moving towards spirituality now. They're looking for something to hold on to. They're looking for God. And if they now come in contact with such spiritual or religious leaders, is that not leading them astray?
That's correct.
So what would you tell the young people out there? We don't wonder where Duchess is, because I also wanted her take on this. What would you say to the young people like yourself?
First of all, what I can say to the young people out there, we just need to become more correct.
Educate yourself more.
Educate yourself more. Know what is wrong, what is right. Nobody needs. I mean, if you sit down, nobody can tell me, oh, this is wrong and that is right. I should know what is wrong from what is right. And at the same time, I don't wish your neighbor evil. Love your neighbor as yourself. I mean,
Wonderful.
with that, we can we can do whatever I want to do. We can go places. I'm not really into all these religious leaders, because even me myself, at some point I stopped going, and that doesn't stop me having relationship with God. I just chose not to be a part of a group that'll be brainwashing people. 'Cause I find that, and it was just on a Sunday. Was it? No, yeah, just Sunday gone. I was discussing even Bible with few people, and they were like, "Oh yeah, they're talking about Titan offering." I said, "You know what? That Titan offering you mentioned, all the pastors used to mention Malachi 10, saying, oh, bring all the titans. I said, listen, when they're reading that Bible verse to you,
Out
do they
of context.
read out of context? I said, did they read from verse 1 before they get to verse 10? Because if they read from verse 1, in that same chapter in the Bible, God was cursing the people that's actually exploiting wage
Exploiting.
earners.
Yes,
Wage earners
you're very correct.
in that actual verse, Malachi 3 verse 5 or verse 4, I can't remember.
You're very correct.
That, God was it was not even with it was causing the way, people were exploiting the wage earners, exploiting the widows, all the sorcerers. It was in there, but they will not read from that verse. Only that verse that says,
They just choose
bring
the one
me,
that is relevant to them. It's funny
yeah,
that
and
you
bring it,
mentioned this, Sunday. Please
and
finish, and
even
there's
when it
something I
said in
want
the
to add to
Bible,
it.
yeah, even when it said in the Bible, it doesn't say bring your tithe into the church. It said bring it into the storehouse.
The
Church is
barn,
not the
yes.
storehouse. And the tithe they were talking about in that time is not monetary in value. It's the food. So people people that come in the church around, they can have food to eat. Pastors don't live in the church. Well, I'm not going to go into that, but you know,
And God, we know God doesn't spend money.
God doesn't
If you leave
spend
your
money.
money, if you leave your money on the floor of the church or the floor of the mosque or the
I
floor
can
of
pick it.
the tabernacle,
Yeah.
5 days later, come back there, the money will be there.
No, even if church put them, if church leave the money, you know, in the anywhere in
Offering.
the church, and I found it, I'll take it. If anybody give me, I'll read them for.
No, but I'm sure you're joking. I was just talking on a serious note that God does not spend money. So if you put money on
He
the
doesn't.
altar,
He doesn't
you
spend money.
you will
Yes,
find
he
it
doesn't
there.
spend money.
If nobody else touches
Yes.
it, you'll find it there. What I was trying to
Yes.
also
So
highlight
the
is
youth,
we had some churches that were sending messages to their members when obviously the governments of various countries had said stay at home. They were sending messages to their members asking them to pay tithes and donate offering. People are staying at home. Listen, Nigeria is a country where people live more or less from hand to mouth. So basically, they have to step out to hustle, their legitimate hustle, for them to feed themselves and their family. So they've been told not to go out. There's no source of income. Probably have no electricity. The little food that they bought in the house is probably going to go bad because there's no electricity. There's no money in their pocket, and you're sending them messages. Is this not the time for the church to say, okay, because the funny thing is, if you don't come to church, that's when you realize that the church knows your house. If you don't, if you miss church for a day, or if you don't go to the mosque for a day, you know that the imam or the team in the mosque know your house. So that means if you know the houses of your congregation, whether it's church, whether it's mosque, whether it's a tabernacle, you know their houses. That means at this time, how about all the money that has been gathered? Can they not use it to help? I've seen quite a number of churches and ministries in the US and Canada, a few in Africa that have done that. They've actually taken food. They're not leaving everything to government. Because when people donate money to the mosque or the church or the tabernacle, they don't, I don't even think the Jews, I don't think they do offerings like that. But those that take money from their, worshippers, they don't give the money to the government. The money goes to the religious bodies. But now that this thing has happened, it's the government that is trying to step out to help. What are the religious bodies doing? The youths in question, there are youth that attend those churches or mosques. What are those youths doing? Should they not be asking their leaders questions, or even ask or requesting for help? Duchess, what do you say? What's your take on that?
We can't hear you.
Can we have a little bit of volume for Duchess?
Especially if you're from Nigeria, we're taught not to question your elders. So most probably it can
Africa
be difficult.
generally.
Exactly.
Africa.
But thankfully I've not been in church for a while, up until recently last year. And to the glory of God, Jesus Christ is Lord. That's the name of the church that I go to. There's no name of the church. It's to the glory of God, Jesus Christ is Lord. That is, do you understand? And the church that I go to is changed because it's small. It's in a small hall, and you don't have to give offering. The pastor does not ask for offering. You only give if you want to give. The pastor has a full-time job, actually. Every pastor should have a full-time job, as far as I'm concerned. They should
Thank
have a
you.
profession. Then you wouldn't have to go to church to
Preach
start
it,
asking
Duchess.
people for money. Do you understand? To feed your lifestyle and to feed your wife, to feed your children, and to feed your side chick in the church that we all know about also.
Ouch. Ouch.
So,
Ouch.
I definitely also believe it doesn't matter what religion you are, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, traditional. One thing I do know is that we need to raise the vibration of planet Earth, of Gaia. We need to raise the vibration. There's been so much, again, so much hate, so much war, so much crimes, so much murder, rape. I could go on. It's just sometimes I ask myself, like, you, even us that live in the Western world, you know, as Tunde said earlier, we're privileged. You know, why are we so lucky that we can live in peace and our children can go to school and there's good transport? And then our counterparts that live in other countries like Iran or Liberia, where there's been war, who are the people that are feeding those wars? You know, who are the people that are
Yeah.
inciting those wars? What's actually really going on? I've had to ask myself this for years. Every time you see on TV, there's first aid, charity. How long are we going to be giving to charity? What's going on? Why aren't these problems being solved? And then I'm still going to
Disappearing
go back. Why aren't these problems being solved? Why is there so much hurt, hunger, starvation in the world? And I'm
in
going to
our
go back
world.
again to the 1% of the 1% who are Luciferians, who are feeding this system, this mammoth, this spirit of mammoth system. That is what they've been feeding. And that's why now we have the coronavirus. Do you understand? Because Mother Nature has now responded to us. We're all now in our houses, and as Princess said, definitely we all need to go back into ourselves, really go back, meditate, pray, whatever it is that you do. Even if you're somebody that's not prayerful during the day, if you can just give thanks, you know, give thanks for the little things that you have, thankful for waking up, thankful that you can eat, thankful for the shoes that you wear, thankful for your neighbor, whatever it is, just give thanks, be grateful and pray, and let's continue to raise the vibration. You star seeds out there, you know who you are. Apparently there's 4.5 billion of you, and we're all moving to the next fifth dimension. Yes. And to move there, we need to be prayerful. We need to raise the vibration. We need to show love. We need to be kind to each other. That's all we need to do. All we need is love. That's all we need, you know. And for some reason, there's not enough love in the world, but there's a lot of people that are still willing to give love, to be helpful, to be kind. And this is the time for those people to step forward. And I'm really proud, you know, we have to also remember the people like the NHS, not just the NHS, even people in the local communities that are
All
helping each
frontline
other.
workers,
There
people
are
that
people
put
that are
themselves
going
out there
online. Yeah,
to
and even
offer
apart from the
help.
frontline workers, just normal people in the community, you know, we have to thank them for helping their neighbors, maybe neighbors that they don't usually speak to. Do you understand? They're
True.
helping them, bringing food, going out there, they're being nice, you know? So we have to remember all those people that are stepping up. We have to remember them. And that's what we need to see more of, just more love. Let's just help each other during this time. And that's another worry of mine, because everybody, especially with this 2 meter distance, this, you know, social distancing, nobody wants to come near
Everybody's
each other. So like,
wary.
oh no, oh, everyone's wary. How is that going to change us as a society? How are we going to go back? We can't
Well,
go where, like,
it's just panic.
how are we going to go back to how we used to be? Now we've got this virus, you know. And according to David Wilcox, they haven't finished. They have a stronger one that they're trying to release. That's why we need to
Maybe,
pray to send it back to the pits of hell,
maybe.
wherever it came from.
As much as,
Back to
thank you so
sender.
much, Duchess.
Yes.
Thank you so much. As much as I am a firm believer in God Almighty, and you know, you are my child, you're my daughter, so you know
Yeah.
what my beliefs and what my values are. I also sometimes I have questions about how we, the so-called believers, how we ourselves behave.
Mm,
There's a proverb that says, to thine self be true." So before
mhm.
you can even stretch out to show empathy or to show love or kindness, you know, or not be judgmental, have a bit of patience, be more embracing, be more patient. You know, all of us have, out of all these things that we're listing, we all have areas where we fall short.
Yes,
And therefore,
definitely.
it's up to us, the individual, to look inwards. So I was asking
Yes.
somebody the other day, have you thought about it? And I'm now again to young people, and I'm sure there are quite a number of young people watching. Have you thought about it that this is actually World War III in disguise?
Of course, it's World War
There's
Three in
no,
this
there's
side. It's
no,
a
there's
shadow
no
war.
guns, there's no ammunition, there's no bombs. You know, nobody's bringing out a cutlass or you understand bows and arrows, what have you. You know, to attack, physically attack anyone. But there's a war. There's a war raging, and this war has come in the face of what we have called COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. As we begin to wrap up, I'd like to just ask, what's the word I'm looking for now? Your last word that you would share with your fellow young adults and youths, based on what I've just said now, that maybe we should all take it that we are in a war. Because I remember when we read, we were not around in World War I, World War II, but when we read about what happened, these are the things that happened. People were asked to stay in their homes. You know, sadly, some homes got hit by bombs, but it was best to stay in your home or stay in shelters, you know, back then. So now this is a war that we cannot see the person or the being waging the war, but we can feel the impact because so many lives have been lost, which is very sad. And we know that when there's any war, there's always casualty. In any war, there's always casualty. And therefore, we go back to when it says we need to choose our battles. So there's this big war hovering over all of us. And then we still want to have these battles of bickering, fighting, backbiting, not showing kindness, being mean, being wicked, being vile, being oppressive, trying to control other people, stealing, greed, avarice. The list goes on. Even the thoughts that we have, because we're all made of energy, we emit energy.
Yeah. Where
Don't understand
bioelectric. Yeah.
how powerful even our thoughts are, how you think about or think of the next person. And therefore, on this spiritual note, well, I would love us to wrap it up on a spiritual note, not forgetting that spirituality and science, they coexist. Because when the Messiah does come, remember what he said? He said, don't let anybody fool you. I'm talking in layman's language now. Don't let anybody fool you to say, oh, he's round the corner. He's under that bush. He's behind that hill. He said, when I come, you will all see me. You know how? Digital. You'll see him in your phone,
Yeah,
iPad,
yeah.
on your
5D.
you will see. So basically, he will take over whatever it is that you have as a gadget, your fridge, your microwave, because we've gone into that world of technology. Everybody has gadgets, and these gadgets are digital. You will see the Messiah. He will show he will show himself. Don't run anywhere. Don't run anywhere. But that's my personal take. You know, there might be some people who disagree with me, but you know that is why from a long time I've embraced technology. I mean, you know about going Global Women Inventors and Innovators Network. We work with inventors, we work with innovators. We're going to be 20 years old this year, and a whole number of our inventors have gone on to do great things. You know, so on that, but that was just a side information reason, just for reason of my embracing technology, because I saw how useful technology has been to me personally in my work, in my career. It's helped me a lot. The things that I would have probably had to pay X, pay Y, and pay Z to do for me, because I have learned, I went to college, I went to the university, I learned these things, so I'm able to put them into use. There's some things that I crack myself because I just sit with it, and you know that, Duchess, and I come up with the results because I know this thing works. it can work and help me or enable me to do my work better. And not to talk of people like yourselves who are even more versed into technology than I am, or people like Mr. Tunde, who is an IT guru himself. So, young people, your world, because what I did was I kind of pinched a bit of what your world has, which is technology. Your world is based on science, technology,
Okay.
inventions, innovations,
Yeah.
right? So, but we also have to remember that spirituality is also very important. As Duchess said, we have to raise our consciousness, raise the vibration. What is your consciousness? Your consciousness is your soul. Your soul is what
Diva.
feels. It's what thinks. It's what reasons. Your soul is that part, because we're body, soul, and spirit. So the body is a jacket. Once we're stripped of this body, that's it. The body goes into earth. Remember, man, that thou art dust, and unto dust thou shalt return. Boom, over.
Yeah.
Your spirit goes immediately back to the Creator, waiting for
Yes.
where He's going to ask you to go to. It's your soul that
That's
carries
correct.
on, because it's your soul that can reason, it's your soul that can think, that is your soul that can feel. So that is our consciousness. And therefore, spirituality and science, for me, I believe we have to try to balance them, especially in the times that we're in now. Even the talk about COVID-19, the pandemic, 5G, 5D, everything that's ongoing is to do with science, right? Our reaction to those scientific things and phenomena has to be on a spiritual template, has to be on a spiritual level. So I think I've rambled enough. I'm going to give it back to the youths, the leaders of tomorrow, the greater tomorrows, those who are going to hold the baton and lead us into the beautiful world that we're going to step into. So let's give Sunday the chance to respond to this. What is your last word? What would you want to,
Right.
from your heart, both as a
I'm just
technology person and as a child of God? What would it
yeah.
be that you want to
I'm
part your parting words for us
right. Okay.
tonight?
I'm gonna make it brave. Uh, first of all, we are in World War III in disguise, because uh from the previous World War, the number of casualty they had then was, I believe, is more than what we're seeing now. And when we're talking of the World War III, it'll be a war against nation fighting over power. And I don't think that's what it now. This is just a plague. It's just a virus. It might be a war against COVID-19, yeah, but I don't think it's a three in disguise. So that's my take on that. In terms of church, I think after this COVID-19 or whatsoever, the churches in England, most of them call organization, they need to be taxed, because charity organization, this is the time charity organization meant to rise up and look after the affected people. And if they're not there to do all those things, so where are they channeling all the money they gain from their organization? Where are the money going?
It,
So
it,
in
it just
light of
simply
that,
means charity does not begin at home with them.
it doesn't begin at
That's
home.
what
So
it doesn't begin at
that's
home.
my take on that. And I
Thank
know we
you.
mentioned about Nigerian youth.
Yes.
My uh, take or my point to Nigerian youth is not to misplace their priorities like their leaders does, because all the current on the previous leader in Nigeria, I think they've misplaced their priorities. They don't know what they meant
Sadly.
to do. I think they probably know. Maybe they just dropped their, not misplaced it. Let me just use that word, misplaced. They actually ignore their priorities because they know exactly what they're supposed to do. Because they come here, they go everywhere, and they see how the system is being run, and they go back home and they still do the same thing they keep doing. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, we talk about youth. We're youth. We're able. We've got hands. I've got legs. I've got eyes. My brain is working. I can boast that. Yeah, I can do this. Just Duchess can say, yeah, I can do this as well. How about people that can actually even stand up and say this is to do? Like that's like the mentor people, the disabled people, the less privileged that out there in Nigeria. You see them roaming. There's nobody to care for them. And you see a little girl, and the next thing someone they will say, oh, she's got witchcraft because she doesn't look well, because she's not properly fed, she doesn't live in a better house, she doesn't have electricity. Yeah,
I
and
hear you.
nobody cares for them. And
I hear you.
when I see this thing, I look like, okay, what exactly is the government doing? Who is looking after these people? And there's little or less I can actually do as an individual. I can look, I can see them, I can feel sorry for them. But if I don't have that power, I can feel I can
There's
assist,
nothing you
but
can do.
not everyone. But when we have an actual system that should be looking after those sort of people, and it's not doing it, people need to talk. I mentioned earlier, I know of an organization which is Carry My Cross. I keep saying it. I commend them a lot because what they're doing, I've seen, even presently written to the WHO in regards to the mentally challenged people in Nigeria, and they're
In
doing
Nigeria.
tremendously well. And that's one thing. And to carry out on a spiritual note, everybody needs to be spiritual one way or the other. Either you're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddha, Judaism. We just need to have some sort of spiritual connection, and not just looking at religion as a religion. Because religion to me is just a party. Church, people, even I was having a conversation with someone like, okay, all these pastors that has 50,000
The
what did
mega
they call it?
churches. The mega
Yeah, all
church.
these mega churches, yeah, 50,000 capacity, 500,000 capacity. Where are they now? Where are those people watching church now when we actually have a lockdown? You saw on those buildings rather than spending millions to allow of your church member or most member, but rather than that, you just spend that money on a building. And what is the benefit of that building at this point in time now? That is to
No
show
benefit.
that actually,
Zero.
yeah, they even the pastors, they actually even ignore their own priorities, not even misplace it, they ignore it like the leaders do in Nigeria. So my take for the young one, for the youth, is to have the right morals of life, not to be led
Thank you, sir.
astray by saying, oh yeah, this is the new thing because everyone is doing it. I have to do that. My grandma told me that not go with the back. If you have a group of friends that they're doing something bad, you should know what is wrong from what. Deviate from following that kind of group. Know what is wrong from what is right. Don't say, oh, because my friend does this. Oh, actually, like you mentioned something about the sexuality earlier. That's one of the greatest sin. And I'm telling people, it seems we've actually in his eyes. And at the time we're doing that, he just then look down to us like, look, you are my six-day creature, and you're doing this. I'm gonna teach you a lesson. The same way it teach, it teach the, our so
The former generations.
the, the same way it teach them lesson, the same way it taught them over there, the same way it's gonna teach us lesson now if we don't turn
They're not
back and
careful.
do it will. It does not necessarily have to be a Christian or Muslim or this, but as long as you follow the rule and you obey God, you do what is right in His presence, we are going to live in peace. All these things coming, all the pandemic, we're not going to say. I mean, few days last week, interest rate 0.01. It never dropped like history. That is to show you how God is powerful. Even they're worshiping, it went down. Everything was shut. So we need to
Absolutely.
turn, our youth need to turn their back to Christ. And not science. Science has a vital role to do in our life.
Absolutely.
Either we like it or not. And I can, for 5-10 years ago, you need to pay to your bank account, you have to like get to the bank and put the money there. If you need to get that, you have to go to the bank and probably show them your bank card or your passbook. You can only do that on the go. I can be here to you. I'll
Yeah.
be sending money to someone in America, sending money to someone in China, and I'll be doing a lot of things. This is
Everything's, in fact, with this lockdown globally, I think everybody's shopping online now.
even with this lockdown we're talking about, we're not actually locked down.
Everybody's
Some
online.
businesses booming. Some people are still running their business as usual,
Yes, because
and that is
they
with the help
sell
of
their
technology.
products online.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
And
indeed. Thank you for joining us.
yeah.
Thank you for your
Thank you very
invaluable
much.
contribution. Thank you for
You
educating
are
us on technology and the 5G and 5D and what it means. And thank you for letting us know the importance of technology, or else we'll all be back as cavemen and cavewomen, drawing water from the well and riding on camels. But thank God for technology. As you also rightfully
thank
said,
you.
it has its rights, it has its good and bad. For instance,
Yeah.
if you ride an
Yeah.
aeroplane, once you get on an aeroplane, we always pray that we take off and we land safely. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Anyway, thank you indeed. I'm now going to hand over to Duchess to also give us her own very quick response and reaction and what you would like to share with fellow youths and young people that are
Yeah.
watching. Thank you so much.
Definitely, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here and for listening to what we have to say, and thank you for your contributions. Just definitely listen to the government when they say stay home. Be safe, be careful, stay prayerful, stay hopeful, have faith. As I said, continue to be kind. When you can, if you can help someone, help someone. Ask questions. Even though the government are saying this and are telling us that, us as youth, we need to ask questions, do research, don't be ignorant. Just don't take what they're saying as gospel or as Bible. We definitely have to question everything that they're saying to us. I know that there was a bill passed through this week, or was it last week, the coronavirus bill, that's saying now that all our children have to be vaccinated before they go to schools. They're going to have so much powers now with the coronavirus bill. So people are now signing a petition against that. So there's so many petitions that are going on against 5G or the coronavirus bill that you can sign. If you're in Nigeria, if you're in Africa, come together as youth. Maybe you can create a platform where you guys can talk, be it on Facebook. You can create groups where you can now conversate and share ideas. Anything that you can do to help, to help yourselves or to help your small community, that definitely will help. And let's continue to raise the vibration, because the aliens are here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Obviously, the word alien just means beings that are not necessarily like
Extraterrestrial.
us. They're
Yeah.
just, But we're yet to see anybody that would hold an alien and say, I found one.
Well,
We
if
we
you go
do
on
know that
Facebook,
other
on
beings, we
Google,
do know that other
there's
beings
different
exist.
sightings.
We know that
Yeah.
other beings exist because God created a universe. We just know our own
Yeah.
world. Our world,
Yeah.
our earth is one out of the entire universe. So thank you so much again, Duchess. Thank you, Mr. Tunde. A big thank you to
Thank you
Uncle
very much.
Adi Thomas for being there with us and helping us even through the little technical hitches. We'll get there. Hopefully, maybe with 5G, we don't know. We'll see how that goes. But thank you most importantly to you. I had to end that on a funny note. Thank you to you out there who's made the time to tune in. I've seen quite a number of parents that tuned in to watch, and I also saw a whole lot of young people that have tuned in to watch from Nigeria, from Europe, here in the UK, and even the US. And I saw a few from Canada. God bless you all. Yes, coronavirus is here. We have to do all we need to do to ensure that we contain it. Let's listen to what our governments are saying. Please keep well, be safe, stay indoors, only go out if it's absolutely necessary. And let's be kind more. Let's show more empathy. Let's forgive more. Let's not be too judgmental. Let's be patient with each other. Let's be patient with ourselves. Let's love more. Let's love ourselves, because if you can't love yourself, you can't show love to other people. Let's also, I'm talking to adults now, people in positions of authority, mothers, fathers, aunties, uncles. Let's embrace the youth. Let's remember that once we were youths, there were some things that we experienced that we didn't like. Let's not repeat it. Let's not repeat the bad and the negative. Let's try to chart a way forward. And as my late dad would say, let's bring the old to meet with the new so that we can chart a way forward. Until the same time again that we come your way, I say that you continue to arise as agents of positive change. Take care of yourselves and each other. Good night.
Hello, I'm Susan Jumoke Fajano Thomas. It is important for us to stay at home. It is important for people to stay at home. By staying at home, you will help control the spread of the virus. You will help control the virus from spreading to your friends, colleagues, and the community. It is important we come together at this time to work together to support each other. Is by doing this and by staying at home that we can fight this virus. Also, it is important to practice social distancing, which means you need to stay 2 meters away from other people at all times. Please, let's do it together. Hashtag stay at home. Thank you.
Everybody in London, have you heard that Heritage Television has come up with something new? All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream. That was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020 800 46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud. Everybody in London, have you heard that Heritage Television has come up with something new? All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream that was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020 800 46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud.